Asia, good evening America. You're watching World DNA with me, Jyotsna Kumar.
And I'm Hem Korsura, and on the show today, bus blast rocked central Israel in a suspected terror attack. Defense Minister has accused Palestinian terrorist organizations of carrying out the blast, while Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was set to hold a security meeting. We'll get to the latest from West Asia on the show today.
And also in related news, this also comes as the thousands of mourning Israelis observed a moment of silence in honor of the 4 dead hostages returned by Hamas. However, now Israeli forces have said that one of the 4 bodies returned from Gaza to Israel is not hostage Shiri Bibas. We'll get you latest on that, but first the headlines.
Three empty buses explode in central Israel in what police said was a suspected terror attack. Israeli military ordered to embark on a massive operation in the West Bank.
Israel says one of the 4 bodies returned from Gaza is not hostage Shiri Abbas, as claimed by Hamas. Says it has identified the remains of Shiri's 2 sons handed over as part of hostage prisoner swap.
The Trump administration can continue its mass firings of federal employees after a U.S. judge denied a union bid to temporarily halt the firing of thousands of federal employees on probationary status.
Kash Patel becomes the new director of the FBI as U.S. Senate confirms his appointment by a 51-41 vote. 2 Republican senators vote not to confirm Patel.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky says his talks with U.S. envoy Keith Kellogg restore hope of achieving an agreement with Washington.
Amazon has topped Walmart in quarterly revenue for the first time, reporting $187.8 billion last quarter. While Walmart still leads annually, Amazon is closing the gap fast.
Reigning NBA Rookie of the Year Victor Wembanyama to miss the rest of the season due to a shoulder injury. San Antonio Spurs said a form of blood clot was discovered after the Frenchman returned from the All-Star game.
And 3 buses exploded in Israel's central city of Bat Yam in Tel Aviv.
This is what the police have called a suspected terror attack. There were no injuries reported in the incidents. The buses were empty at the time of the explosions in the parking lots. Police said that they neutralized 2 other unexploded devices on buses nearby as bomb disposal units scanned for additional suspicious objects. A large number of police were deployed to search for suspects. Bus drivers countrywide had been asked to stop and inspect their vehicles for additional explosive devices.
Central Israel's police commander said that the devices used to set off the blast were similar to those found in Israeli-occupied West Bank.
We received several reports on incidents from the terminal here at the Bat Yam station about an explosion. When we arrived at the scene, we detected explosions in 2 buses, At the same time, we received reports of several additional incidents, with scenes both in the city of Holon and the city of Bat Yam. As of now, we have 5 scenes, 3 explosive devices that have detonated, and 2 that bomb disposal units are currently working on.
Defense Minister Israel Katz accused Palestinian terrorist organizations of carrying out the blasts. Katz said that he'd ordered the military to step up its offensives across the occupied territory, particularly in refugee camps.
Well, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was set to hold a security meeting. An official in the Prime Minister's office said that Netanyahu views the explosions as a very serious incident and will order decisive action against terror elements in the West Bank.
Meanwhile, the Israeli military has said that one of the 4 bodies returned by Hamas is not of hostage Shiri Bibas. Specialists at the Abu Kabir Forensic Institute were not able to identify the body as it did not match any male or female hostage.
Now, Israel has asked Hamas to return the body of Shiri Bibas, accusing it of having handed over the body of an unknown person. The IDF informed the Bibas family that the bodies of Ariel and Kafir Bibas have been identified after their remains were given to Israel by Hamas on Thursday.
Now, the authorities using forensic evidence and intelligence assessed that the 2 boys were brutally murdered in November 2023. Ariel was 4 years old and Kafir was 10 months old when they were killed. Hamas said an Israeli airstrike killed the Bibas family early in the war, but Israel has never confirmed this claim.
Thousands of mourning Israelis observed a moment of silence in honor of 4 dead hostages returned by Hamas. A crowd gathered in the Tel Aviv's Hostages Square for a rally in solidarity with the families of the dead hostages. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu denounced the group as monsters for staging a public handover of their bodies in Gaza. It was the first handover of bodies under the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip.
We bow our heads at the heavy loss of our 4 hostages. We all hurt in pain that is laced with rage. We all rage over the monsters of Hamas. The 4 coffins of our loved ones oblige us more than ever to promise, to vow, that what happened on October 7th will never happen again, ever. Our loved ones' blood is shouting at us from the soil and is obliging us to settle the score with the despicable murderers, and we will.
Now, the UN said that the manner in which Hamas staged the handover of the bodies was abhorrent and cruel, while the Red Cross pleaded for transfers to take place privately.
In another development, Israel said it struck crossings on the Lebanon-Syria border used by Hezbollah to smuggle weapons. According to a Syria war monitor, an unspecified number of people were wounded in the attack. The raids came after a convoy of smugglers' vehicles was observed headed from Syria towards Lebanon.
Now, Akash Patel has become the 9th director of the FBI.
The 44-year-old was approved by a 51-49 vote. The Senate has approved all of Trump's cabinet picks so far, underscoring his iron grip on the Republican Party.
President Donald Trump officially signed the commission to appoint Patel as the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, hours after the U.S. Senate confirmed his appointment.
The vote was split along party lines, with the exception of 2 Republican senators, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, who voted not to confirm Patel. Patel drew fire from Democrats for his promotion of conspiracy theories, his defense of pro-Trump rioters who attacked the Capitol, and his vow to root out members of a supposed deep state plotting to oppose the Republican president.
Now, there were fiery exchanges at Patel's confirmation hearing last month as Democrats brought up a list of 60 supposed deep state actors, all critics of Trump. He included in a 2022 book, whom he said should be investigated or otherwise reviled.
Now, Patel has denied having an enemies list and told the Senate Judiciary Committee he was merely interested in bringing lawbreakers to book.
Patel, in a statement on X, said that he was honored to become the FBI director, saying that the American people deserve an FBI that is transparent, accountable, and committed to justice. He went on to say that his mission as the director is clear: let good cops be cops and rebuild the trust in the FBI.
Now, Patel replaces Christopher Wray, who was named FBI chief by Trump during his first term. A son of Indian immigrants and former federal prosecutor, the New York-born Patel served in several high-level posts during Trump's first administration, including as senior director for counterterrorism on National Security Council.
My, oh my, how do you follow Elon Musk when he tells you you're going to take you to Mars? I'll tell you how. He and I share something deeply.
And for more on this, a correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Let's listen to what she had to say.
Kash Patel has been confirmed as the director of the FBI following a narrow 51-49 Senate vote. He is known for his extensive experience in national security and law enforcement and has often made headlines with his controversial remarks. His tenure is expected to focus on addressing pressing issues like terrorism and espionage, with particular focus on the threats from the Chinese Communist Party. Patel has expressed his intention also to implement significant reform at the FBI, aiming to enhance efficiency as well as accountability. As the first Indian American to lead the Bureau, his leadership marks a historic moment here in the United States, and many anticipate that his initiatives will bring a renewed focus to the agency's mission to safeguard national security. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Moving on, the Trump administration continues its mass firings of federal employees. A U.S. judge has denied a union bid to temporarily halt the firing of thousands of federal employees on probationary status.
Now, District Judge Christopher Cooper said that he lacked the jurisdiction to handle the complaint, which is one of several that have been filed in courts in recent days, in an effort to pause the mass sackings.
The judge's decision comes as around 6,700 workers at the 100,000-strong Internal Revenue Services, that's IRS, who were on probation were being laid off. A former IRS official said most of the employees being let go worked in the tax agency's enforcement teams less than 2 months before the U.S. income tax filing deadline of April 15th.
Now, a number of IRS employees posted messages on social media saying that they had been abruptly terminated and were seeking other opportunities. The National Treasury Employees Union and 4 other unions that represent federal employees had asked Cooper to issue a temporary restraining order preventing termination of their members.
Now, on Wednesday, another federal judge declined a request to temporarily block Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, from firing federal employees.
A judge last week lifted a freeze that he had temporarily imposed on a mass buyout plan that was offered by the Trump administration to the federal workers. According to the White House, more than 75,000 federal employees signed on the buyout offer. Meanwhile, the U.S. media reports said that more than 50,000 people could be laid off at the Defense Department. According to CNN, the firings are expected to begin as early as Friday.
A New York Times report citing former CIA officials claim that the agency has moved to dismiss an unspecified number of officers who were working on recruiting and diversity issues in what would be one of the largest mass firings in the agency's history.
Now, this report comes as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that Elon Musk's DOGE will have broad access to root out previous administration's programs at the Pentagon. Hegseth said that DOGE will work to find the redundancies and identify the last vestiges of the Biden priorities.
Meanwhile, Musk attended the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, where he wielded a chainsaw on stage, telling cheering attendees it was a chainsaw for bureaucracy. The chainsaw was handed to Musk by Argentinian President Javier Milei, who is set to meet with Musk, U.S. President Donald Trump, during his visit to Washington.
I mean, we're trying to get good things done, but also have a good time doing it, and and have a sense of humor. Yeah, no, waste is pretty much everywhere. People ask how can you find waste in DC? I'm like, look, it's like being in a room, and there's target. The wall, the roofs, and the floor are all targets. So it's like you're gonna close your eyes and go shoot in any direction. you can't miss.
All right, U.S. President Donald Trump has questioned why the U.S. spent $21 million to increase voter turnout in India, suggesting the money may have been used to influence elections.
Now, this was during a summit in Miami where Trump said, why do we need to spend $21 million in voter turnout in India? I guess they were trying to get somebody else elected.
His comments come after the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, led by Elon Musk, canceled the funding, calling it misuse of taxpayers' money intended for increasing voter turnout in India.
In India, the move has triggered political controversy. The Bharatiya Janata Party claimed it proves foreign interference under the Congress-led United Progressive Alliance rule, while the Congress denied the allegation, saying it makes no sense to sabotage its own election prospects. The funding was linked to the Consortium of Elections and Political Process Strengthening, a U.S. organization supported by the USAID.
The former Chief Election Commissioner S.Y. Qureshi, who headed the Election Commission of India during 2010 to 2012, refuted reports of an MOU signed by Election Commission of India around that time on U.S. funding to raise voter turnout.
The Election Commission of India has not commented on the controversy yet. Now, foreign ministers from the G20 top economies are meeting in South Africa amid tensions over the Ukraine war.
Now, trade disputes as well, and the absence of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Now, the two-day talks in Johannesburg are a curtain raiser to the G20 summit in November. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa opened the meeting with a call for cooperation amid geopolitical tensions and rising intolerance. Ramaphosa said geopolitical tensions, rising intolerance, war, climate change, pandemics, and energy and food insecurity threaten an already fragile global coexistence.
Top diplomats from Russia, China, India, as well as European envoys from France and the UK are attending the meeting. But the group's richest member, the US, is only represented by the Deputy Chief of Mission at the American Embassy in Pretoria, after Rubio skipped the meeting amid disputes with the host nation. Ramaphosa said Rubio's absence does not amount to a boycott since Washington is represented.
The absence of, some leaders is not the end of the world. As long as the G20 family is able to meet, discuss important issues, and come out with a declaration. And that is what we aim for.
The gathering takes place after Donald Trump's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, where they discuss the war in Ukraine without Kiev or its European allies being present.
As the G20 leaders hold talks in Johannesburg, British Foreign Minister David Lammy has said that he saw no appetite from Russia for peace after listening to his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov talk at a closed-door meeting.
We have not got anywhere near a negotiated settlement. And I have to say, when I listen to what the Russians and what Lavrov has just said in the chamber this afternoon, I don't see an appetite to really get to that peace. And that peace could be achieved by leaving Ukraine tomorrow, just going and letting people get on with their lives and letting them have their sovereignty. We look forward to speaking to President Trump more about this. We're very, very clear. There must be a role for Ukraine. It must be at the heart of these negotiations. Of course they want peace, but they will need security guarantees.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has also said that the world expects that parties concerned deal with each other to end the war. In his address during the G20 session on discussion on the global geopolitical situation, Jaishankar said India has long advocated dialogue and diplomacy in Ukraine.
Now, he added that the global geopolitical situation remains difficult by any definition and that the very purpose of a group like G20 is to find common ground and create the basis for collaboration.
Now, Jaishankar met Russia's Sergei Lavrov and discussed recent developments in the Ukraine conflict, including the meeting with Trump in Riyadh. The Indian diplomat also met with counterparts from other nations and called on host President Ramaphosa. And while the countdown to a German election is in its final days and the race is on for the chancellorship of Europe's economic powerhouse, with about 59 million people eligible to cast ballots on Sunday.
But the biggest question is, will someone cross the touchline first, or will Germany end up with a frontrunner without a clear majority?
Now, before we get into the polls, let's just first take a look at the four major parties and their candidates for the chancellorship. First up is Friedrich Merz, who belongs to party of former German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Christian Democratic Union. The second is far-right AfD leader Alice Weidel.
Now, incumbent Chancellor Olaf Scholz is seeking re-election, leading the Social Democratic Party. The German Greens are led in this election by Robert Habeck, who is also the current Vice Chancellor for Germany. In the last televised debate before the Sunday vote, Olaf Scholz and Friedrich Merz were at loggerheads on issues of migration and relations with the far-right AfD.
Now, but despite the intensity of high-stakes poll battle, all fun is not lost in Germany's politics. The fiery debate between Merz and Scholz did end with some light-hearted banter. Take a look.
Herr Scholz, Friedrich Merz ist ja Hobbypilot. Würden Sie zu ihm ins Flugzeug steigen, sich von ihm fliegen lassen?
Ja.
Warum?
Ich nehme an, er hat den Pilotenschein zurecht.
Das Hobby von Olaf Scholz ist bekanntermaßen das Rudern. Würden Sie zu ihm ins Ruderboot einsteigen?
Ja, und da ich ganz gut schwimmen kann, auch ohne Schwimmweste.
Now, according to the latest polls, Merz is on course to become Germany's next chancellor, but he could fall short of full majority as the polls project him to win 29% of the votes. 8 percentage points behind Merz is far-right AfD candidate Alice Weidel. Sitting German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is lagging behind with 16% of the votes. The polls project 13% votes for German Greens.
Now, South Korea and the U.S. conducted a joint air drill with a B-1B strategic bomber, demonstrating deterrence against North Korea's nuclear threats.
North Korea slammed the U.S. AUKUS submarine deal, calling it a threat to the regional peace, while warning that nuclear states won't sit idly by. Take a look. now for a short break.
But before we go anywhere, we have lots lined up on the other side. And also on the other side, we have Karnataka Lokayukta Police has given a clean chit to Chief Minister Siddaramaiah in alleged irregularities of 14 housing sites by the Mysore Development Authority to his wife. We'll get you more on the other side.
The bird flu is making poultry eggs far more pricier for people in the United States. The outbreak has wiped out millions of birds across the country. More details on the other side.
As China's Nezahatu enters the billion-dollar club. We tell you all about the highest-grossing animated films. Meet Indian actor Sania Malhotra as she talks about Mrs. And find out some rare facts about the perfect singer Ed Sheeran. All this and much more with me, Nikita Singh, at these times on WION E-Club.
Pakistan's long wait to host a global cricket event is finally over.
I assure every cricket fan and supporter that Pakistan is ready for the Champions Trophy.
For the first time in almost 3 decades, an ICC event is being held in the country. India's refusal to travel to Pakistan adds an extra edge to the already fierce rivalry. Catch all the drama, action and controversy from both on and off the pitch, only on WION.
A dictator without elections, Zelensky better move faster.
President Trump, unfortunately, lives in this disinformation space.
The Ukrainian side has expressed their frustration over the lack of participation.
The first step of a long and difficult journey.
I am Anas Malik, reporting from the heart of the action in Ukraine.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, world is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show as well. Let's get started with the headlines first.
China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi tells his G20 counterpart that a window for peace is opening up for the Ukraine crisis days after top U.S. and Russian diplomats met in Saudi Arabia.
Elon Musk parades a chainsaw at conservative conference celebrating President Trump's victory. Tells attendees it was the chainsaw for bureaucracy. The chainsaw was handed to Musk by Argentine President Javier Milei.
Kash Patel becomes the new director of the FBI as U.S. Senate confirms his appointment by a 51-49 vote. 2 Republican senators vote not to confirm Patel.
Israel says one of the 4 bodies returned from Gaza is not hostage Shiri Bibas, as claimed by Hamas. Says it has identified the remains of Shiri's 2 sons handed over as part of hostage prisoner swap.
Three empty buses explode in central Israel in what police said was a suspected terror attack. Israeli military ordered to embark on a massive operation in the West Bank.
Japan's inflation hit 4% in January, boosting rate hike expectations. The core inflation rose to 3.2%. The yen strengthened slightly while the GDP growth slowed down.
Reigning NBA Rookie of the Year Victor Wembanyama is to miss the rest of the season due to a shoulder injury. San Antonio Spurs said a form of blood clot was discovered after the Frenchman returned from the All-Star game. We start with India. The Karnataka Lokayukta police has given a clean chit to Chief Minister Siddaramaiah in a case of alleged irregularities in the allotment of 14 housing sites by the Mysore Development Authority to his wife in 2021.
Now, the Lokayukta police is all set to file a closure report citing lack of evidence. Replying to a complaint that was filed by an RTI activist, the Lokayukta police said no evidence of corruption had been found.
The probe began after a case was filed in September 2024 against Siddaramaiah's wife, Parvati BM, brother-in-law, Mallikarjun Swamy, and landowner Devaraju J under the Prevention of Corruption Act and Indian Penal Code sections for breach of trust and cheating.
The case is with regards to around 14 sites worth 56 crore rupees that were allotted to Siddaramaiah's wife in 2021. This was said to be compensation for what was described as the wrongful acquisition by the Mysore Urban Development Authority of around 3.16 acres that had been gifted to her by her brother in 2010.
With the BJP, which was in power in 2021, leveling allegations of irregularities, Siddaramaiah's wife returned the 14 sites to MUDA. Siddaramaiah himself had then denied wrongdoing and maintained there was no corruption on his part in the MUDA allotment.
Welcoming the present Lokayukta police's clean chit, several cabinet colleagues of the Karnataka Chief Minister called the case politically motivated and a plot by the opposition BJP and the JDS to tarnish his image. The BJP responded claiming the party had always known that Lokayukta could not do a proper probe and the case would have been better handled by the CBI instead. A blitz on the cyber fraud industry along Myanmar's border with Thailand has led to the rescue of around 10,000 workers.
Now, hundreds of Chinese workers have started to arrive home, with the first planes carrying Chinese nationals departing Thailand on Thursday. Thousands of foreigners are expected to be repatriated from Myanmar in the coming weeks.
Now, the compounds are run by criminal gangs and staffed by foreigners, many of whom say that they were trafficked and forced to swindle people around the world in protracted internet scams. The Karen Border Guard Force, which is the BGF, a militia allied with the Myanmar junta, says it will deport 10,000 people linked to compounds in areas it controls on the border with Thailand. Many of those involved in the scams are Chinese, and Beijing has stepped up pressure on Thailand and Myanmar to shut the operations down.
2 double-decker coaches delivered a first group of workers across the borders from Myanmar to an airport in the western Thai town of Mae Sot. Dozens of people, seemingly all men, boarded a special China Southern Airlines plane directly from the buses, mounting the steps after being checked by an official with a clipboard.
3 more flights followed. The plane was headed to the eastern city of Nanjing. It is not clear what fate awaits them. Chinese police accompanied the returnees on the planes. Beijing's Ministry of Public Security referred to them as suspects rather than victims.
坚决打击网赌电诈犯罪，是落实以
Resolutely cracking down on online gambling and telecom fraud crimes is a concrete manifestation of the people-centered development philosophy and an inevitable choice to safeguard the common interests of regional countries. It aligns with the shared expectations of people in all nations. China is actively cooperating with Thailand, Myanmar, and other countries through bilateral and multilateral efforts, implementing comprehensive measures to address both the symptoms and root causes of these crimes.
和地区国家交往的正常秩序。
Meanwhile, Thai authorities have said that after the first round of 600 Chinese were returned, further talks would be needed between Thailand, China, and Myanmar to organize more repatriations.
Thailand will not set up an office. The cooperation will be discussed among the 3 countries, with Thailand as the core country facilitating entry and departure. Today's handover consists of a total of 200 individuals, with 50 per flight across 4 flights.
Now, cyber scams have proliferated across Southeast Asia in recent years, including in Cambodia and the Philippines, as the value of the industry has ballooned to billions of dollars a year.
Many workers say they were lured or tricked by promises of high-paying jobs before they were effectively held hostage, their passports taken from them while they were forced to commit online fraud.
This one? No.
And well, certainly not yet golden eggs, but the bird flu is making poultry eggs far more pricier for people in the U.S.
Now, the outbreak, it's wiped out millions of birds across the country, making egg prices soar, and supermarkets are, of course, having to limit purchases.
Now, with a 55% year-on-year price jump, a dozen eggs now cost over $7. The USDA expects prices to climb another 20% this year. As the consumers struggle, a new trend is taking shape: chicken rental. Now, companies are now letting people lease hens and equipped hen houses, promising a steady supply of fresh eggs. Businesses giving out the chickens on rent say demand has skyrocketed as families look for ways to secure their own egg supply without the long-term commitment of raising chickens permanently.
Our online inquiries have been filling up more than ever. People are very interested in being able to have backyard hens for fresh eggs. Then they don't have to worry about the price of eggs at the store, and they don't have to worry about if there are eggs at the store or not. We've been through this previously, and the price of eggs always seems to even out.
Now, to ease the shortage, Turkey is exporting 15,000 tons of eggs to the United States, a deal worth $26 million. Meanwhile, the U.S. government is moving fast, approving a bird flu vaccine and stockpiling doses to protect poultry farms.
But with 160 million birds already lost since 2022, it could take months before egg prices and supply stabilize.
Now, a century-old mystery and the curse of the pharaohs may have been finally solved.
Well, revealing the answer is the tomb of a pharaoh, unseen since Tutankhamun's discovery has been unearthed. Egypt is calling the discovery of the tomb of mysterious pharaoh the biggest archaeological finding of the century. Our next story tells you more about it. Take a look.
Ancient tombs, whispered curses, and the allure of pharaohs. For centuries, countless theories have surfaced. The legend of the pharaoh's curse has long captivated historians and conspiracy theorists alike. Since the discovery of King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, the unexplained deaths of several excavators fueled fears of an ancient curse. But now, new evidence finally unravels the truth behind this century-old enigma. Researchers have uncovered the long-lost tomb of King Thutmose II, a ruler of the 18th Egyptian dynasty and ancestor of Tutankhamun. Unlike previous finds, this discovery near the Valley of the Kings in Luxor does not contain a mummy or lavish treasures, suggesting its contents were removed centuries ago. A British-Egyptian team located it in the western valleys of the Theban necropolis near the city of Luxor. Researchers had earlier thought the burial chambers of the 18th dynasty pharaohs were more than 2 kilometers away, closer to the Valley of the Kings. Historical records indicate that Thutmose II was the husband of the legendary pharaoh Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's few female rulers. His reign from approximately 1493 to 1479 BC remains shrouded in mystery. Now, archaeologists believe that many of the deaths linked to Tutankhamun's tomb were caused not by a supernatural curse, but by exposure to toxic mold and ancient bacteria sealed within for millennia. The timing could not be more perfect for Egypt's ambitious tourism goals. With visitor numbers reaching 15.7 million last year and targets set at 18 million for 2025, this discovery adds another jewel to Egypt's archaeological crown. The nation's cornerstone project, the Grand Egyptian Museum in Giza, promises to showcase these treasures when it finally opens its doors this year. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And while foreign car makers are losing ground in China as the country's EV price war heats up.
Domestic brands, on the other hand, are set to capture 70% of the market this year, while foreign players face shrinking demand and tough choices: invest more or exit. So what's next for global automakers in the world's largest EV market? Here's a report.
Foreign automakers are facing increasing challenges in China's electric vehicle market. According to Natixis, their market share is expected to drop to 32 to 33% in 2024, down from 35% last year. Meanwhile, domestic brands continue to dominate, with their market share projected to rise from 65% to 70% this year. The biggest factor driving this shift is China's aggressive EV price war. BYD, the world's largest EV maker, triggered fresh competition by cutting the price of its Scion 05 hybrid SUV by 11.5%. Tesla and other brands quickly followed, intensifying the battle. With slowing economic growth, Chinese consumers are prioritizing affordable, high-tech local models, leaving foreign players under pressure. As competition heats up, foreign automakers face a tough choice: increase investments or scale back operations in China. Toyota plans to double production to at least 2.5 million vehicles annually by 2030, while Mercedes-Benz and its partners are investing $1.9 billion to develop EVs tailored for Chinese consumers. On the other hand, Nissan and Honda are cutting production by up to 30% and 20% respectively, reflecting weaker demand for their models. Analysts expect more strategic announcements from foreign brands in 2025, with some potentially increasing their investments beyond earlier plans. Natixis suggests that companies looking to stay competitive should turn China into a global R&D hub. Renault has already taken this step by launching an EV research center in Shanghai. China's growing EV dominance is not just about pricing. Technology is a key differentiator. Once known for low-cost products, China now produces premium battery EVs with advanced AI, digital features, and smart driving systems. Tech firms like Xiaomi and Huawei have entered the EV space, pushing the industry towards cost-efficient innovation. Even Ford CEO Jim Farley has warned that Chinese EV makers pose an existential threat to the U.S. car industry. To compete, foreign car makers are seeking partnerships with Chinese firms. Volkswagen, for example, has teamed up with XPeng to co-develop 2 smart EV models. But as domestic brands continue to lead in affordability and innovation, analysts say foreign players must rethink their strategies to survive China's evolving EV landscape. Business Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, on to development now from the world of technology. According to reports, Google is making a major move in its retail strategy. The tech giant is reportedly planning to open its first physical store outside of the United States, and it's chosen India as the location. This marks a significant expansion for Google, which currently has only 5 stores globally, that too only in the United States. Google counts India as a key growth market, where it has committed to investing around $10 billion. The move mirrors Apple's successful retail approach, showcasing its products directly to consumers. Apple has around 500 retail stores worldwide.
India's electric vehicle revolution is accelerating, according to a report from the India Energy Storage Alliance. A staggering 28 million EVs will be on Indian roads by 2030. In India, EV sales surpassed 4.1 million units in financial year 2024-2025. The report forecasts that two-wheelers will dominate the market, accounting for 83% of sales, followed by four-wheelers at 10%, and commercial vehicles and three-wheelers making up the remaining 7%. India's commitment to decarbonization, coupled with government incentives and rising consumer interest, is driving the impressive growth in the EV sector.
AI chip maker NVIDIA, along with research partners, have created what they call the largest artificial intelligence system yet for biological research. The new AI system, called EVO2, can read and design genetic code across all life forms. Scientists are hopeful that such AI technology will dramatically accelerate research by spotting patterns in vast amounts of data that would normally take years to analyze by hand. The system has been trained on nearly 9 trillion pieces of genetic information, taken from over 128,000 different organisms, including bacteria, plants, and humans. In early tests, it accurately identified 90% of potentially harmful mutations in the BRCA1, which is a gene linked to breast cancer. Scientists say this could help develop more precise treatments, including gene therapies that only target specific cells.
All right, over to football now. Liverpool manager Arne Slot has questioned striker Darwin Núñez's attitude after their 2-2 draw with Aston Villa on Wednesday.
Now, Slot's frustration was evident during the match, and his disappointment only deepened on Thursday over the forward's dip in performance.
It's a chance, so it's not 100% sure that the ball goes in, and players miss chances that I can accept. But what was a bit harder for me to accept, that his behavior after that chance, and with behavior I mean, I think it got too much in his head, where he wasn't the usual Darwin that works his ass off and makes sure he helps the team.
A deep dive into the life and legacy of the beloved French star who passed away in October 2023. The documentary explores Perry's meteoric rise to fame, his struggles with addiction, which he openly discussed in his memoir, and the circumstances surrounding his final days.
Netflix has unveiled the trailer for its latest docuseries, American Manhunt. Osama bin Laden, helmed by more.
Pakistan's long wait to host a global cricket event is finally over.
I assure every cricket fan and supporter that Pakistan is ready for the Champions Trophy.
For the first time in almost 3 decades, an ICC event is being held in the country. India's refusal to travel to Pakistan adds an extra edge to the already fierce rivalry. Catch all the drama, action and controversy from both on and off the pitch, only on WION.
As China's Nezahatu enters the billion-dollar club, we tell you all about the highest grossing animated films. Meet Indian actor Sania Malhotra as she talks about Mrs. and find out some rare facts about the perfect singer Ed Sheeran. All this and much more with me, Nikita Singh, at these times on WION E-Club.
The Second Democratic Republic of Congo city falls to Rwandan-backed rebels. Chaotic scenes unfold in Bukavu as a group continues its offensive that killed a popular Congolese musician while filming a music video in Goma after releasing a song condemning the rebel occupation in Goma. Winifred Byanyima, the wife of imprisoned Ugandan opposition leader Kizza Besigye, says she's very worried over her husband's condition as he continues his hunger strike. Besigye is on trial on charges of threatening national security. Uganda says it will drop the military trial. And a shortage of available gym space has led a group of seniors in Zimbabwe's capital to set up a high-energy fitness club in a graveyard. Watch World of Africa at these times on WION. World is one.
This week on the West Asia Post.